YouTube and on Teams. So welcome everyone to SQL Friday number 140. Today we have Peter Kruis connecting from just outside Rotterdam, and he's going to talk about an introduction to extended events, which is a topic dear to my heart. I still see people using Profiler for all kinds of things, but and even the live profiler with a GUI live connected to a profile in production, and I'm like, stop that, please. But Peter is going to tell us how we should do it instead. So I'm glad to have you here, Peter. Welcome to SQL Friday.
Thank you. I'm happy to have the opportunity to speak here. So thank you, Magnus. Yeah, I'm having several slides, not too many, because I think people don't like slides, at least I don't. And then we'll hop into some live demos. So I hope everything will work out, but we shall see. First, a little bit about me. My name is Peter Kruis, and I work as a consultant for Monin IT in Belgium. We help customers with their databases, mostly Oracle and SQL Server, but also other platforms if requested. This can be in the role of managed server partner, where we take care of the monitoring, security, performance, etc., or in the role as a partner, assisting you doing your job or doing projects for you. I started there 2 months ago, so it's pretty fresh and new, all pretty cool. We are still recruiting entry-level, mid, or senior. If you are interested in a talk, don't hesitate to contact me. Another slide I always need to mention is I started 1 year ago with speaking in New Stars of Data. Recently, another session or sessions had happened, and the next one is scheduled for the 25th of October. And the call for speakers is open. So if you are eager to speak, you won't do it alone, at least the speaking you do, but you are going to be guided by a experienced speaker. Yeah, don't hesitate to sign up for it. And now to the content. Yeah, as Magnus told, he's using Profiler. So am I. And when I consult, I see people don't even know about extended events. And as you can see in the slide, it's quite a new feature. It's only in there for 2008, so it's, yeah, newish. However, okay, the first version of extended events, the introduction was kind of lame. It worked, and that's it. When you wanted to query the data, etc., you needed to query it, and you needed to shred XML into pieces to retrieve your data. Later, I am going to show an example of it, but it's not my favorite way of retrieving data, what is happening on your server. And I think that is one of the reasons why people hold back to using extended event. However, so many things have changed since. In 2012, a GUI was introduced. And within that GUI, some cool things, which I'm going to show you in the demos, are being added. Qua performance, when you compare it to Profiler, where Profiler was being built on the side and hooked into SQL Server, so it fetched every data and then started filtering, extended events is being built more in the core, where it started filtering much more at the start of the process, where the performance or the overhead is a lot less. Obviously, there are some parts which might have larger overhead than others. I will come back to that. But it's much more flexible, much more performance benefits. Also, it is being developed as we speak. As you can see in the slide, development continues. And where at this moment we are at almost 2,500 events possible to retrieve with your extended events, SQL Server Profiler still has the same amount as it was in the beginning, so 200 anything. What's also cool about extended events is it is being saved on your server, where Profiler most of the time is on your local machine. And when you are guiding a junior DBA, he needs to set it up also. And you have two listeners, where extended events, as it's on server side, both you and the junior and anybody else can look into the results of your extended events. So that's pretty awesome. I just talked about extended events is being still developed, and some new events in SQL Server 2022, yeah, they are pretty cool. Query anti-pattern. Yeah, we all know some people don't have some anti-patterns in their query. For example, implicit casting, etc. You can now find them with extended events, because an event fires when an anti-pattern query has been detected, or a query abortion, for example, when it's being aborted, when the user presses cancel, it is killed, it has a .NET timeout, which is default 30 seconds, and my query get cancelled, etc. There are many, many more, so I won't list them all here, but these are two I want to name for now. A bit comparison. So before 2012, the best way to see what is happening on your SQL Server is the profiler. Yes, and that includes, in my opinion, also 2008, because I don't like the XML. I like GUIs, perhaps DBA tools, etc., to fetch your data. After that, I think extended events is a much better option for this kind of comparison. Much more overhead for profiler or SQL Server Trace, whatever you want to name it, server client. Also, a very cool feature is the causality tracking. I'm going to demo it later on. However, there are some features which aren't totally supported. I think yet, I hope they will come, which is the combination with perf monitor and the built-in replay. You need to use other tools if you want to play with those. However, DBA tools and PowerShell can help you a lot with those things. So, demo time. Okay, well, let's start. I have my SQL Server. There are some slight differences with Azure. I'm not going to demo Azure. It's on the on-premise. However, if you get the basics here, you definitely know how to use them on Azure. The first easy way to set up your extended events is just double-click here. Tada! This is my profiler-ish. However, it is profiler, or it's extended events disguised as profiler. But here you can see what is happening on my SQL Server. It's just a monitoring tool doing the same queries over and over, but you get it gets the job done. But this is one way of doing it, and I'm not going to talk about an hour to show how double-click standard. We are going to talk about how you can set up your session yourself and how you can use that. So on the left side, we have management. When we press on the plus of management, we have the option extended events. When we open that one, we have sessions. I already opened it. And below here, we can see all the sessions available on this machine, where, let me zoom in a little bit, the red block says it isn't on at this moment, and the other arrow thingy shows it is being on at this moment. And some are custom made by me, found on the internet, whatever, and some are there on by default. For example, the always on health, the system health, and the telemetry events are on there by default. And some of them are also even on by default. For example, the system health. The system health will give you information about errors, deadlocks, etc. So it's a quite common tool to find your problems on your SQL Server. When we are going to create our thing self, it's just right mouse button, and we can go to the wizard or we can go to new session. I don't like the wizard thing because it doesn't do any wizard thing. It doesn't have a head, and it emphasizes actions, and actions has overhead a little bit. They are quite handy, but I don't think the focus should be on there. And new session, well, it's very comfortable to work over there also. So when I click it, I get a screen to combine or to configure my session. And obviously, I first need to have my session name. So my SQL Friday 140 session. Here I have the possibility to use a template for the people who are using Profiler or who are used to Profiler. Some of them are also there in the Profiler SQL Events. Hard word for me. But you can also create your own templates. I'm not going to talk about that for now. You have the possibility to schedule at server startup. So when an expected or unexpected reboot happens, it will start right when your SQL Server starts up again. So you don't need to think about it yourself. You want to start it just when you finish creating it. And if you want to open the live data screen, it saves you some clicks. And the coolest one is the causality tracking. And here it says already what it does. It tracks how events are related to one another. A good example of a use case for that is, for example, you have a stored procedure and your stored procedure is slow. So you are going to set up an extended event. I would like to have all the data of my stored procedures, and I would like to all the statements including in it. When we do enable the causality tracking, it will, how can I say it best? It will create a GUID and a sequence number, and every item which is related to each other. So when we have the statement from the stored procedure completed, including your full completed query, it relates them to each other with the same GUID. So you can exactly pinpoint, hey, this is because of this and this is because of this. Or perhaps you are tracking weight statistics. You would like to say, hey, this stored procedure, where is it waiting for? Or several, and then you can track it with the causality tracking. I will leave that on for now so we can see it later on in this session. On the left side, we still have some more to configure, as it says, yeah, we need events. And the event is something that happens on your SQL Server. It can be a query executing a statement. It can be something for your high availability. There are many, many events as shown in the presentation. We have the possibility to search, if you know it. If you know, I would like to see the RPC completed, I can find it, and I double click or press the arrow to the right side, and on selected events, I see, oh, these are the events my profiler, my extended event, is searching for. By default, the search is only on the name, but you also have the possibility to search on the names, descriptions, etc. If you don't exactly know what you are looking for, you can search on all. You can say, hey, I would like to have my statement or whatever, and you can see all the events. Yeah, name, okay, I don't know exactly what is the data masking traffic or whatever. And here you have a small description about what it is. When does it do? So for example, when we have the statement completed, we can find occurs when a statement inside a stored procedure has completed. This can be cool. And here the statement completed. And here we have the possibility to add several options to our item. We can also multi-select, as you see. So we have the RPC completed, statements completed in the SQL and the stored procedures, and also I would like to have a batch completed. RPC completed is usually stored procedures for a .NET application or entity framework, etc. SP statement completed are the statements within a stored procedure. The SQL batch is when I run a query inside, for example, Management Studio or not pre-processed. And the SQL statement completed is when I have a batch and I have multiple statements in it, it will filter them all. So for now, I have 4 events, and I might be able to start it now, but that's the point. I might have some overhead. I'm on a local machine. I'm a daredevil. I would do it here. On production, it definitely is better to press the configure button first. And also we have 2 more items on the left side. So let's first go to configure. We have 2 icons. We have the, what was it? I've written it down because my previous time I said the Harry Potter logo, but it was a lightning bolt and a filter icon, where the lightning bolt is for the actions and the filter icon is for your predicate. For now, I will start with event fields. Event fields are the basic items which are being retrieved in your event. So in this case, everything which doesn't have a checkbox is being retrieved by default. So your CPU time, your object name, how much reads does it do, how long does it do, and in what type is it? Is it milliseconds, microseconds, seconds, etc.? For the RPC completed, it's microseconds. So 1 million is a second, where Profiler, it has 1000 for a second. Some are on by default. SQL team thinks statements when you are retrieving the RPC completed would be quite handy to have. If you don't want to have it, for example, you just want the count of something and you are going to filter it eventually, you are able to unpress the checkbox. For now, I'm okay with it. And you can see all the events have their own items, where the RPC completed has the object name mandatory, the statement completed, it's optional. The object ID, therefore, is mandatory. So when you are in a strict procedure, you have your statement, your object ID might give you the information you need. However, it can be quite easy to have the object name in it, so you don't need to search for it, and it will be better for filtering, grouping later on. Okay, up next, filter. Filter is just like the where clause in your normal queries, where some people just do select star from the table. It might be better to have a where statement to have a less overhead in this case, or just a faster running query when you are doing it. And here you have the possibility for many fields to filter on it when the event happens. So in this case, when the RPC completed event happens, I would like to filter on my host name is blah, blah. I also have the option to combine it with other options, including and or, and the and or have the same requirements as in the normal where statement, where and precedes the or. But it's also visible in the GUI, and the duration larger than 1 minute. 1 second. And here you have the possibilities. And now you have a check mark. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'm not sure how my screen is displayed. So you can see, okay, my RPC completed. I do have a filter over there. For the other ones, I don't. So I have the possibility to add filters specifically per event. So I would like to have my RPC completed with a duration larger than 1 second. However, I'm only interested in my statement completed, which is larger than half a second. So I don't get the very fast ones, for example. Another option is just select them all and filter on them all. You do have some less fields because there are some, it will only show you your common fields. So for example, the host name is known in every item. For now, I will leave my filter off. I forgot it once and I didn't get any result while displaying my running event session, so I'm not going to make that mistake again. The following one is my global fields actions. And actions, Grant Fritchie defines them kind of as triggers. And a trigger is, for example, when you do an insert statement and you have a trigger on that insert, it does an extra action. And that's how you can see this. When the RPC completed event happens, it's being done, it triggers an action to do something, to collect additional information. For example, when my RPC completes it, I don't have the host name by default. It can be pretty handy when you have lots of clients coming in to see the host name in your result set. So you can enable it. You can also enable it for multiple. Then on the lightning bolt, you see how many actions are completed per event. However, just as with triggers, use this with caution. They might have some overhead, some larger than others. If you would like to include total execution plans, however, that's also more an event, they are going to have overhead. So for now, let's see, for example, the client host name can be a cool name. The app name, very handy if you configure your connection string to have your application name in it. It can be pretty handy. Yesterday, I needed to patch a SQL Server, and I set up an extended event to see, okay, which application is still on. However, there was SQL Client Data Provider in the application name. So I couldn't see, couldn't help the developers like, hey, this application is still running. You need to disable this specific item. It could have been a little bit faster there. So those are the events. Next up is your data storage. And the data storage is where are you going to save the data from your extended event. You have several types, and as I have an hour-ish, I'm going to focus on one. It's also just a basic introduction to extended event. However, the other ones can also be pretty nice. I think the most important one, the most easy one, which isn't in the 2008 version, if I remember correctly, is event_val, where you can say, okay, when my event happens, I'm going to write that event, including the data, to a file on my server named MySQL Friday 140. I have the possibility to rename it here or press browse and select a total different location. The default location is the log directory of SQL Server. You have a maximum file size. Let me zoom in a little bit there. You can change it to megabytes, gigabytes. So for example, you can say, I would like to have 100 meg files, and I would like to save a maximum of 5 files. With the file rollover, it will start with the first one again when all 5 are full. So you won't go any higher than 500 megs in this case. So you are safe, but you can configure this whatever you would like to. There are also some others, for example, the ring buffer, but it's like memory thing. I prefer to have my data in there and not my extended events. My histogram, for example, the number of times an event happens, the pair matching to find differences between 2 pairs of events, for example, log acquired and released, and when both are being done, it's being removed from the target. So you can see what is happening at this moment, and it will remove the finished ones. The event counter, number of times happened, and the sync target event tracing for Windows. I need to check my notes for that one. The event file, we are going to use that one for now. And advanced, and to be honest, I never change anything here, I think. If you do be caution with the event retention mode, the no event loss will make sure SQL Server will wait for your event to be fetched by your extended event. And this is how I create a new session. And I think I have everything here. So let's press OK. And as you can see in my GUI on the left side, my SQL Friday 140 session is being added. And I am able to start it from here with start session. But what I first want to point out is I can also, like most of the SQL objects, query it to have a create script from it. And small reformatting. Here you can see the syntax, where Profiler has all those numbers you need to know for configure it. I think this is quite good visible. I'm going to create a session on my server. On Azure, this might be different. What events am I going to do? Well, I'm going to retrieve my RPC completed. And I'm going to collect or have the action, the app name or the client host name. And eventually, I also have a where under here. So after action, I have the possibility to say where, for example, your duration is longer than a specific period of time. And so it is for all the events. And after the events, we have, okay, I'm going to specify my target, which can be one or can be multiple, my file name, what is my max file size, etc. And the latest one are the options. It's an optional part of it. However, I have enabled the track causality. You have the startup state if it starts up from when SQL Server starts. I can start it, as said before, from the GUI. I can also say alter event session and then SQL Friday 114 session on server state equals start. And this will also, I should, live demos, I never learn it. Don't type. Alter event, so it will start. And when I refresh my GUI, you can see it has been started now. And when I want to stop it, let me zoom in this one a little bit. Stop. And it will stop my session, as you can see here. There are several ways to show the data. One I'm going to show you now is through the GUI of SQL Management Studio. Another one I'm going to show you is through querying, shredding the XML. But there are many more other ways. For example, DBA tools. If you haven't used it, definitely look it up because you also have the possibility to see it there. And there are also some extended struct procedures, for example, the SP human events from Eric Darling, who makes use of the extended events to see what is happening. For now, let's start my session. And when I press the plus button, I can see here my different locations or storage which I have added. And when I double click it, I can see nothing because nothing happened. And I'm going to do the watch slave data. And at first, still nothing is being done there. When I'm going to enable some more data on it, it should be do some work. Why is my and where I said I wouldn't filter for now, I don't see anything happening now. That is pretty strange because I did see it here. There's something wrong with my trace. Yeah, I think I set it up a little bit wrong. So, okay, that's the risk of a live demo. But I have another one here running queries. It also has some of the same things I've just shown before on your events: RPC completed, statement completed, batch completed, and statement completed itself. When I first open it, I can see the name and the timestamp. And yeah, I can see it, I can click it, and I can see, oh, this is my query. And when I click another one, this is my query. And that really doesn't make a lot of sense when you are trying to find your data. So what you want to do is add more columns in your grid. You can do it by right mouse button, show column in your table, and you can see it over here. Another option you can do here is choose columns. And when you can choose columns, you can see all the items which has been fetched before. So I would like to have my app name, my host name, my duration, etc. Batch text, I'm going to remove it because we also have the option for merged columns. A merged column is, that's what it says. I would like to fetch and my query can contain a batch text, for example, for the SQL batch completed, but I also would like to have my statement for when a statement complete happened, which doesn't have the batch text, but only have a statement. And here I can see all the information I need at this moment. I can see my queries happening on my server, and I can see the information about it. On the top here, I have a stop data feed button. When I press stop, my extended event is still running and still fetching data into my event file. So, but it will just stopping retrieving data to my screen at this moment. I now have the possibility to share or keep this, because when I create a total new session, like my SQL Friday, which didn't execute, I again have only the 2 columns here. But I would like to have this one by default, or I would like to share what I found with another DBA. The option I have in top, I have an extended event menu, display settings, save as, and I can say, okay, save my super cool GUI. And when I go to this one, and I go to display settings, and now it's in recent, but I can also open and specify a location. It will include my columns, filters, grouping, etc. So when you are going to have a combined job with several other DBAs and you have found something, you can use this to pinpoint what you found on the other screen. Okay, let's continue on this, because we have filtered in my session on some things, but we also have the possibility to filter on your screen when you have fetched the results. Again, same GUI, you also have the option to set a time filter, you can play with those. And you have here the options to the fields which are being fetched, so it's a smaller list than we saw before to find your problem, queries, or whatever you are looking for. So for example, I would like to have my duration larger than, let's say, 500. And then I can only see those items which have those items. With the button clear all filters, it will remove all filters. And another option is, hey, I see this thing or my client host name being retrieved a lot. Let's press filter by this value, and it will add the row for you, so you can see what happens there. But for now, let's just keep it empty. Okay, what's the next? In top, we also have grouping and aggregation. To make use of these, and also the filters, and therefore I stopped my live data feed, I can group data. So for example, I would like to group my data. Let's do it in this case by name, because I'm the only one, if I'm correctly executing queries on my own machine. And here I can see my RPC completed and the specific events which have it, and my statement completed. I see them here. So That's pretty nice. Also, I can aggregate. So within that group, I would like to see the one with the average duration, and I would like to order it on that. And my RPC completed has the highest average duration, which makes sense because it has more statements in it. What I see, what I don't have on this screen, what is really nice to have, so we are going to add it. Let me go back. Let me close this one. And this one, running queries. Let's stop it for a moment and hope I don't break it again. I'm good in breaking stuff. Let's enable the causality tracking. And watch the live data again. Now, as you can see, we have here 4 extra items. One is the activity GUID and the sequence. And those two can be used to see related queries. And we have found several. So let me stop my data feed. In this case, I found a SQL statement completed. And this statement was in this batch. So when was the batch completed was when the statement completed, and therefore is the sequence. But here you can see, oh, those two are related. And okay, here it's only a SQL batch completed and a SQL statement completed. But when looking into a stored procedure with thousands of rows, it can be quite beneficial to see what relates to who and etc. Especially when you also are looking for wait times for specific events, like what part did wait for something. Yeah. So that are the grouping, filtering, and the causality tracking. I think these are the most important things for the GUI.
Can I ask you something?
Of course.
You mentioned if you or I as a senior set this up for a junior DBA or for a developer to look at it, what permissions do I need to give them to be able to look at the results of the extended events? Do they need to be sysadmin?
No, they don't need sysadmin. They do need some specific rights. I don't have them in top of my head. My apologies for that. However, when you have the file saved to your server with all your data, you can, as your senior DBA probably has access to those files, you can just copy them to the junior DBA PC and he can open that file on his own personal laptop.
Okay.
Also, when you have multiple files, and I forgot to show that one, is you can also, let me see, open merge extended event files, and here you can add multiple extended event files for the same GUI as we have seen before.
Lars Rasmussen asks on the YouTube chat as well, are there any advantages to having multiple targets? And I guess multiple target types would be...
It's more use case. I have a case where I wanted to find correlations between when one was started and finished, but I wanted to have, I think it was the, what event was it? It was a count of usage of stored procedures, I think it was. And there I have used the event count, but I also wanted to know what happened. And then I also included my file. So it's more like use case specific when you want to combine them. It is possible, but if you want to, yeah.
Yeah, and I have used the combination of a data file or just a file to see the actual events and an histogram to see. I mean, typical that I use very often is we have a bunch of logins in a large estate and we don't know if they're used or not. So I set up an extended event with a histogram, and if I see that it's okay, some of them are actually being used and we get data into it, then I want to see the specifics. And then I add another target to the same extended event.
Indeed. Yeah, those are kind of use cases for multiple. So
yeah.
Okay, let's continue then. No other questions at this moment, Magnus, yet?
Nope, no more yet so far.
Cool. What I think I didn't mention about the GUI, and I think that's the last thing I'm going to show you about the GUI at this moment, is when I do the right mouse button, watch live data, I don't see any historical data. When I stop it and I play it, also my historical data isn't there. However, when I have saved it to the event file, I am able to see the historical data. Let me clear all filters. And here I don't see new things popping up. So it's a different way of looking. This is what is happening now/future, and this is what have happened. Be aware that if your event file has millions and millions of rows, SQL Management Studio is still 32-bit. DBA tools might be a better way to filter and search for your data at that moment. Still playing SQL Management Studio 21, but I have doubts. Okay, for now, we have a quarter of an hour left. So I'm going to show how to retrieve your data from an event file. On my disk, for my previous sessions, I have a my session event, which I create. And this is the syntax, how we can create or read from an event file. SQL 2008, if I remember correctly, didn't have the event file, so then you need to read from the ring buffer right away. I have the script below, so we are going to talk about that one. But one very important thing is the star. In some demos, I forgot it, and as you can say, it doesn't retrieve anything, because when SQL Server creates that file, it adds some unifier date timestamp-ish thing. And as you have seen when choosing the file, we were able to choose one file or 10 or 5 or whatever. With the star, you guarantee you will read all. If you know the specific name, of course, you can remove the star and filter for one specific. And here you can see the XML of it with all the events, what happened, and also the same information what we see when our live feed happens. So in this case, we have an airplane which retrieves the users from the Stack Overflow database. Makes sense. What can we do with the data? Well, for example, you can spit this in a temporary table and do some more filtering or details on it. So I can see, oh, I have my batch text, it executes, I have my statement, it took this long. For myself, I most of the time also do the duration description. For my usual events, I know 1 million is a second, but some still have the 1000, and it's divided per event what it is. So it's good, I think, to have it visible. But here you can do your analysis like your normal SQL Server queries, etc. The second one is the option to read it from the buffer. I'm not sure if it is going to work as my normally running queries. Oh. No, I think I didn't specify it. Where was it? Here in buffer. Yeah, this should give more results. Saved it. The other one saved me. And here again, we have the same XML as we had when we were retrieving the file. So also for the older SQL Server versions, because this you might need for SQL Server 2008, you can shred it also. Again, let me drop my table. And here we have the data more or better visualized and being added when new data pops in. So it keeps on running. So that's the part about how you can script to retrieve it. The scripts are all available on my GitHub. It isn't a large repo. There is also the presentation, I think perhaps an older version, so I'll update it after this, but also the scripts. For now, as we do have 10 minutes left, Magnus, I think you would have to interrupt me if there were any questions at this moment. So I will continue with some perhaps nice scenarios you can have. For example, the anti-patterns. The anti-patterns is the one I mentioned in our PowerPoint, which is being added into SQL Server 2022 and shows you some information. So let me go to the live data. What I have here is our query with the badges, and my user ID is a varchar. However, this is an integer. And let me, it's too fast. There it is. Historical. But here we can see all the items which were totally wrong. Let me go back to this one more time. Execute it a few times, and then it should be able to be here. But for example, when you have a type converting proceeding seek, SQL Server will mention you about those items. So that's a pretty cool feature if you are experiencing slow queries and you are searching for where people search for an ID where your table perhaps has a varchar, etc. So that's one. Another one, which can be very, very handy, is a blocked processes. And the blocked process is kind of best effort because it fetches the blocked process report. Most of the time, when there is lots of blocking, there are sometimes also problems with deadlock. So I would like to combine them most of the time in one event. So what does this do? It has the blocked process report event, and it's an event which is being done by the deadlock agent, which says, okay, my query is now being locked for X seconds, which is the threshold you can configure with this. And I've set it on 5 for 5 seconds, as you can see here. So when a query is blocking another query for 5 seconds and the agent kicks in, it will fire this event. So did I have it open already? Let's close the other ones. Let's start it. Let's open this one. See that I did start my transaction. I did update something. I didn't do a rollback or a commit. So my transaction is still open. So which means this query can last forever. However, my bet we won't do that long, but and after several times, there it is, my blocked process report. And what you can see here when I double click the information is, okay, I have a process and where am I waiting for? And who is blocking me? So let me go back to the most important information. SPIT 57 is, see, we have blocked and we have blocking. Yes. So we have the blocked. So this item with SPIT 57, which we can see, it's still running, is being blocked by SPIT 76, which has a begin transaction and did an update. And each time the agent kicks in, it creates a new report. So for now, it will have the same data. Sometimes when deadlocks also are happening, it will also be included in this event. So that's a pretty handy one if you are looking for several blocking problems, like your users experiencing slowness. This is a fairly easy one to set up to see if it is blocking. Another one for now we can do is the deprecated features, because Microsoft says I'm going to stop with and text or text, etc. So when I use it, my event says, okay, you are going to use something. Are you aware that you shouldn't, it's on my other screen, avoid using them? So you can find what parts of your application are still using deprecated features. And that's that one. Oh. And do we have another one? The usage of models. Yes, that's this one. And here I have used the histogram, so I can use it several times. And when I go to my histogram, I can see, okay, I have this object and it has been executed 15 times. And here I can see how many times items have been executed. So if you want to know which stored procedures aren't being used anymore, so you might be able to remove them, or better, rename them first, remove them afterwards, then you might be using this kind of thing for your histogram. So you have the histogram. I'm going to filter it, but those are on the GitHub. I will share it for now. It's the github.com/Peter Kruis, and there you can navigate to extended events where I've set up several items. It aren't a lot yet, but I'm trying to keep up with adding more and more of those items for everyone to use. And I think this is what I wanted to tell you about. So these are the basics of the extended events. I hope you've learned something, enjoyed it, and even better, yeah, get used to it, get used to using it in the future for your own SQL Server. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I have a question about the block process report.
Yes.
Because as far as I know, the lowest time you can set is 1 second.
Yeah,
So
but Microsoft advised don't use below 5 because another too much overhead, I guess. But that's why I in my script says 5. You might be able to play with lower, but I thought on the Microsoft documentation was 5 as recommended lowest number.
Yeah, I've seen that too. But then if I work in a highly transaction,
you might want to know it sometimes even more, and then yeah.
Yes, I tried to find a good way. I worked in an online betting company, and I mean there, if you have to wait more than 5 seconds to place your bet for a casino game, then the clients are gonna leave very quickly. And so I looked a little bit at lock acquired and stuff like that, but it's really hard to find something that really works when you're down to I wanted to know if it took more than 50 milliseconds for certain things, and it's hard. So,
I can imagine.
So I think what we ended up doing was batch completed. If that took more than a certain number of milliseconds, then we kind of gave up. So.
No. Yeah, they were quite some users.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, like you said, it started in SQL Server 2008, and now, I mean, for a long time, it's even been a very mature technology in SQL Server. So
Yeah.
I don't find many excuses to keep using, at least not live. I mean, sure, you can start a server-side trace and then get the file and study it later if you really like it, but then you might as well use extended events. So
Indeed, I think for most people who are using Profiler at this moment, it's just muscle memory because
yeah.
the arguments like it is faster to set up doesn't apply anymore since Microsoft have added the Profiler or extended events disguised as Profiler in your management studio with the first one I started. So it's
Yeah.
it's just a double click on it.
Do you need special permissions for extended events to be used in Azure SQL database?
It's kind of about above the scope. I'm not pretty sure.
Okay, so we'll have to test.
Yes, indeed. It's easy to test.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, where I work, developers are sysadmin in at least all the lower environments, and if they do proper, stress testing, they will be able to figure out there. When it comes to production issues, it'll be me, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah, most of the times it's the same on my side. I'm a sysadmin anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think you at least need some view server state permissions, but out of my mind, I'm definitely not totally sure about it.
No, no, and it's good that we talk about it because then I can I'll do some labs during the weekend and see. So
Yeah, indeed. I can also
I'll
play with it a little bit about what things it is, and I will answer this question at least at the GitHub. And if you also can add that to the YouTube channel, then it
yeah,
still is being answered this weekend. I'll do that.
yeah, cool. Then with that said, your timing was excellent. So it shows that you were in new stars of data because I know that the mentors are looking at that.
Yeah,
Uh,
you need to have some time extra if there are many questions. So I was happy to
yeah.
have the other extra events. I also always have them as optional. But yeah, as
Mm,
it's a beginner's presentation, not lots and lots of in-depth questions are being asked. So 9 out of 10 times when I'm doing this presentation, okay, I haven't done it 10 times yet. It will finish on time, and I can show those extra things. So
yeah.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I have done. Uh, I've been a presenter for many years, and my timing is still awful. I just never learn because I pack too much stuff into the presentation. And the only thing I did learn was to not have like the final punchline in the last minute of the presentation because then the audience would never see it because I
No,
would run out of time.
indeed. No,
So
and it are always subjects where when you are go off your thing, you really go off your presentation, and it can go wild.
yeah. So, with that said, I'm gonna wish you a nice weekend, and I will see you in person in Data Grill, and that'll be
Indeed.
awesome. So,
Looking forward to it. Happy to see you there. And also have a good weekend. Enjoy your weekend. You're off to go now.
all right.
Cool. Hey, thank you.